Midget AA, the Most Improved Player Award is Gavin McQueen.
Boy, Gav.
Attaboy, Gav. Attaboy, Gav. Congratulations. Just got the paparazzi.
Cecil, you want to run down here real quick? What was that for a picture?
Attaboy, Gav.
Boy, Gav.
Congratulations.
Just for the benefit of those who may not know this, the reason I invited both Rocky and Cecil up for the first award in the Midget AA, they're Gavin's two grandfathers. So that's a pretty special picture right there. I really don't know where he gets his hockey ability, you have to say. Cecil McQueen, Rudy McDougall, Cody Turnbull, Brent Clark. Who am I missing up there? Barry Verbisky. Come on down here, you guys. We're very honored tonight to make a presentation and to make a tribute to a person and family who've been involved in Glace Bay minor hockey for ever. I'd like to say that as far back as the 60s that I can remember, the epitome of a player playing in Glace Bay minor hockey or playing high school, where you wanted to play, what your goal was to play was on the junior team. The Glace Bay Junior Minors. And by the way, we're going to get them back in Glace Bay too, by the way. You have my word on that. But, so, back as far as as I can remember, there was always, I watched these guys play, Cecil and Rudy, Gordy, Barry, Brent, and there was also another very integral spoke in that wheel, and that person was Rocky Ford. Rocky was grew up playing in Glace Bay. He grew up on Main Street. He had 9 brothers, and when we presented that award earlier to the defense people for the Ford family, as far as I can remember, all of the Fords played defense, and every single one of them wore number 4, and that's been going on for forever. And Rocky's brothers. There was, he was the son of Helen and Ned. He had brothers Jerry, Bunny, Danny, Archie, Hiles, Art, Sid, Glenn, and Polly. And I remember a few of those guys, but I sure as heck remember Polly and Rocky playing, that's for darn sure. These guys played with them, but at that time, Rock grew up at the lower Main Street, not too far from the old Miners Forum, as a matter of fact. And hockey was a way of life for Rocky and his 9 brothers. Starting to skate at a young age, he earned the name Rocket. And later he changed it, shortened it to Rocky. And everybody knows when you hear the name Rocky Ford, that's synonymous with Glace Bay hockey. He started playing hockey for St. Anne's School in the Common School League. He moved on to play for the midget team, and at the age of 12, at 14, he played juvenile with Chapel Hill Saints, and in those days, there was one team. When you made those teams, you were a hockey player. At the young age of 15, Rocky moved up to playing junior for the Glace Bay Junior Minors. He spent 4 years playing with them before moving on to captain the Moncton Junior Beavers for his last year of junior hockey. Now remember that, 1968, Rock? 1968, I was a young fellow going to the rink just like you guys, and Rocky Ford left to go play hockey somewhere else. He broke her hearts. But anyway, he went to play hockey in Moncton for the Junior Beavers. At 21, he started playing senior hockey in Newfoundland, and at that time, and actually still to this day, senior hockey is big business in Newfoundland. That's where the pros go to retire. in playing senior hockey in Newfoundland. Rock went over in Buckins. Then the call to come home was strong, and he came back here and played senior for the Colts for 10 years. He, well, one of the things that I remember, and it's noted here, that although he was fast, and he was maybe a smaller player, but he was a fierce defenseman, and he prided himself as a tough-nosed hockey player. The thing that I remember about Rock, I'm sure his teammates and many of you who watched him play, was he invented and perfected the hip check. You went down on Rocky Ford against the boards, you were going arse over kettle. Simple as that. And the other thing, he had a blistering slap shot from the point. He was a great player. He spent many countless years coaching the game he loved. Through Glace Bay Minor Hockey, started coaching in St. Anne's School. And then he coached the junior minors, the Alpines. That's another junior team. Coaching in Glace Bay Minor Hockey became part of Rocky's life. He was at the helm of either the Glace Bay Adam A, Pee Wee A, Bantam AAA, Midget AAA teams for the better part of 30 years. Over these years, Rocky often found himself coaching in the Nova Scotia Playdowns, competing for provincial titles. I got a couple of stories about that. He continued to help grow the game by coaching an all-women's team consisting of his 3 daughters and 2 daughter-in-laws. He returned back to Glace Bay Minor Hockey to coach the Bantam AA team for one final season with his 3 sons, Jackie, Glenn, and Mike. In Rocky's time with Glace Bay Minor Hockey, he watched his 5 sons, 6 grandsons, 4 granddaughters go through the ranks, each one donning number 4. Even though Rocky's no longer behind the bench, you can always find him at the rink, watching his grandchildren play, providing constructive criticism to the players, coaches, and refs. Once a coach, always the coach. I'd like to tell a story, maybe 5 years or so ago. Rocky can help me, but we had trouble finding a coach for, I believe it was the midget A team or midget AA team. I saw double A. So I saw Rock in the Forum or in the Bayplex this day, and I said, Rock, we need a coach for the midget AA team. He said, James, I'd love to help you, but the parents are driving me nuts. I said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. You coach the team, I'll take care of the parents. He said, okay, and he coached that team. I'd be embellishing the story to say how they did that year, but I knew that the team was in great hands, and it was shortly thereafter when he got Michael and Jackie and Glenn and his other boys involved, and they took the Bantam AA team to the provincials down in Yarmouth 2 or 3 years ago, and they were a force to be reckoned with, and you won an award at that tournament. I know it wasn't fair. I know it wasn't the sportsmanship award. Can't be. Honestly, escapes me what it was. What was it?
Good language.
Yeah, oh yes, I see. But we're very happy to have Rocky and his children are all very much a fabric of Glace Bay Minor Hockey, and their children and Rocky's grandchildren, but his children, Roxanne, Dale, Sonia, Tammy, Rocky Jr., Jackie, Glenn, Hank, Michael, and Helen. We're very, very honored and proud to honor Rocky Ford. But before I ask Rocky to come up, I'm going to ask Mrs. Ford to come up. We have a special presentation for her as well. Some I don't know how you did it. We'd like to present flowers to Mrs. Ford on behalf of Glace Bay Minor Hockey. Let's see you stay with us if you would, please. And you know what? Just in keeping with the spirit of the evening, I'm going to ask Rocky's old teammate and lifelong friend, Cecil McQueen, to say a few words too, if you would, Cecil.
That was kind of quick. I didn't expect this one. If you got 2 or 3 hours, I can tell a few words. Well, I played a lot of hockey with Rocky down the years. Started out in junior with him. He was one of them, like James said, one of the best hip checkers in the league. And it goes for his shot too. Rocky was one of the best players I ever played with. Good friend, always will be. I could tell you a little story about Rocky and I.
Please do.
Tell me, don't get mad. We went to Newfoundland one year. We opened up a rink down there at Port of Bass. Anyway, we got off the bus. That took us to the rink. And they were coming over looking for autographs. We didn't know what was going on. Autographs. Fellas from Glace Bay. So anyway, we played the game. Then they put a little dance on for us. So that was going good, and Rocky said to me, Cecil, there's one over there. She's looking at me. She got her friend. Let's go ask them for a dance. Over we go. We had a couple of dances with them. Then we sat down. Rocky said, she's still looking at me. Let's go again, what do you... Anyway, the dance was over. We asked them, could we walk them home? So Rocky went his way, and I went my way. I walked this one from here to River Rhine Bridge. When I got there, her mother was on the veranda. Now this is for all you young fellas when you hit junior hockey. Be careful. So her mother said, thank you very much, young fella, and tapped me on the head and said good night. So I get back to the hotel, and Rocky's sitting on the step. What happened, buddy? He said, holy Jesus. I walked this one that far. Her father came halfway down and picked me up, drove me to the hotel and said, thank you. And the two of us sat there and laughed. We got the same response. 2 kisses on the forehead. So as the story goes on, 52 years later, Rocky and I end up in Ottawa to watch our grandson play ball, Gavin. So the parents gather in the night after the games and they go outside and have a few pops. So the second night, Rocky and I are looking at each other in the room. And I said, Rocky, let's go down the Leeds and listen to some music. Rocky said, gee, good idea, there might be a machine down there. So it took us 3 hours to find a Legion. It was in the woods. So we're there, and there's about 12 people in the hall. I said, this is going to be something right, Rock. So anyway, as the bartender passed, and I said, what time's the dance start? He said, she's over in an hour. Just then, 2 walked in. No, 1 walked in. I said, Rocky, here comes a couple now. This one had a cane. And she stopped. She went like this. One came in a wheelchair. He said, Cecil, if we gotta walk tonight, you're taking one in the wheelchair. That's so funny. So, all your young junior players, be careful, there's a Rocky Ford, your buddy. Not as nice as you think he is. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
before we move on, you know, talking about the old-time hockey players. Sorry, guys, because I'm there myself. But that was great hockey in those days. I tell you, the junior teams in Glace Bay in the '60s, and the players that we had. Not only these gentlemen here, they were great hockey players, but their teammates, Eddie Roberts, Robert Anderson, Art Billard. You know, these guys are legends around here. There was a Billard involved in minor hockey in those days as well. But that was just a filler. Why Cecil wants to make another little presentation, then we're going to make a little presentation too. If you would, Cecil.
Thank you, James. Let's get back to the story now. Truck pulled up in the yard last week. 2 little gifts in it. What's this for? Well, we can't tell you. You'll have to open the box, find out, read it, where it came from. So I did. Rocky, could you come up forward, please? You know the 2 old ladies I was telling you about? Their name was on the card. Would you give this to Rocky? Now, this was before our playoffs started. I said, I most certainly will. This was from Helen. And this one was from Irene. That was mine in the wheelchair.
We got another Rocky story here. Hang on for a sec.
Thank you. My name is Brent Clark. I'm from Toronto, Canada. And, I have lots of memories about Rocky. I played my minor hockey against Rocky, and that was a lot of fun. I still have the scars of slashes on the back of my legs and my back from him. He was a great stick guy. And he's also a great hip checker, and I ended up on the receiving end of that hip check many times. Fortunately, we became teammates when we graduated to the junior leagues, and he was a great player, passionate, tough. And we ended up one year winning the championship, and Leo Amadeo was our coach at that time. And it was down, I was away for a long time. I came back, and I went and visited Leo one time, and there was a stick in the corner of his, he had a rec room in his basement with all his memorabilia and whatnot. And I said, "What's that stick, Leo?" He said, "Well, have a look at it." And it was a stick that the whole team had signed and gave to Leo the night we won the championship. And I have that stick here tonight, and I'd like to present the stick to Rocky tonight. And before that, I'd like to just tell you another little bit of a story about Rocky. After I came back home, our children got involved in hockey. And my daughter was a pretty good hockey player, and she ended up playing on the AAA Bantam team, and her defense partner was Rocky's son, Michael. And it was tremendous that happened. And in that year, Rocky was the assistant coach of the team, handling the defense. And she was the only girl on the team, and he'd get in the dressing room and start. And he'd be telling them they were all brain dead, including Michael. And there would be the odd swear come out, and he realized that my daughter was there, and he'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry, hon. I'm sorry, hon." And then he'd start going on again, and of course the odd swear would come out, "Oh, I'm sorry, hon." So my daughter said to me one night, I was the manager of the team, and she said, "Dad, could you talk to Rocky and tell him not to be calling me hon?" She says, "I don't really think that's a part of the hockey language in the dressing room." And I said, "Okay." She said, he doesn't have to call me anything, but don't have him call me hon." So I talked to Rocky, and I don't know what he called her after that, but he stopped calling her hon. Anyway, there's another point I'm trying to make here about girls in hockey. And I'm so excited. I've been in the hockey scene for some time. And I'm so excited to see all the girls playing hockey now. My daughter was the only one playing at that time. And all the girls that got awards here tonight. And remember, in the prep school situation and the university situation, they have to offer the same opportunities to women as they do to men. So hang in there, play the game hard, and you will receive the benefits of the sport. So with that, I can't say much more. My daughter went on to play prep hockey in Ontario, and then on to Yale University. She played 4 years there, and guess what number she wore? Number 4.
It's going to be hard to top that, but Rock, stay right here if you would, please. As a token of our appreciation for your service to your community over your lifetime in the hockey world, not only as a player and coach, fathering a fine family, we'd like to make a presentation to you as well on behalf of Glace Bay Minor Hockey, and we'd if I can be so bold, I can tell you this. I know that it's a passion of yours, that we will make every effort going forward, certainly as long as I'm president of Glace Bay Minor Hockey, that's for sure, that any Ford or any member of your family, your children's family, should they desire, and I know they will be permitted to wear number 4. Yeah. Would you like to say? Put her on. Put her on. Ladies and gentlemen, for the Glace Bay Miners, number 4, Rocky Ford.
Number 10, baby.